Have you ever wondered why staying calm, truly calm around women, sometimes gets you disrespected instead of respected? You were told that being chill, being patient, being emotionally stable would make you more attractive. You believed it, so you didn't yell, you didn't react. You stayed quiet when she flirted with another guy in front of you. You brushed it off when she cancelled plans last minute. You laughed it off when she called you too sensitive after a cold insult, and you thought, maybe if I keep staying calm, she'll appreciate it. Maybe she'll finally see that I'm the one who never loses his cool. But here's what no one told you in her mind. Silence doesn't always mean strength. In her eyes, your patience may look like passivity, your understanding weakness, and your calm. It might just be an open door for her to test how far she can go without consequences. Most women won't tell you they're testing you. It's not conscious, but it happens all the time. She starts small, makes a sharp comment to see how you react. You let it slide. Next time, she interrupts you in front of your friends. You smile through it. Then, she disappears for 2 days after a fight. You wait, thinking she'll come around. She returns like nothing happened. You forgive without addressing it. And just like that, you taught her something. You taught her that your calm isn't a boundary, it's an invitation. She can push, disappear, degrade, and you'll still be there. You'll still be calm. You think you're playing the long game, but she's not playing a game. She's watching to see if you're man enough to stand up, not with anger, not with violence, but with limits, with presence, with a silent no that doesn't need explanation. Women don't respect calm that doesn't protect itself. They respect calm that says, you don't get to speak to me like that. Calm that walks away when the energy turns manipulative. Calm that isn't afraid of loss because it's rooted in self-worth, not emotional dependency. So how do you stay calm without being disrespected? You have to kill the version of you that's calm because he's afraid of her leaving, afraid of conflict, afraid of losing her interest. And you have to become calm because you've seen the worst and survived, because you've been alone and learned to enjoy your own company, because your peace is built on discipline, not desperation. Let me give you something real. A man I once coached had this woman beautiful, funny, wild. She'd vanish for days, come back with tears, promises, passion. He thought, she's just emotional. I can handle it. I'm the stable one. Until one night, she told him she hooked up with her ex just to feel something. And he forgave her, said, I understand. You're still healing. That was the moment she stopped respecting him. Not because he forgave her, but because he had no standard for what love should look like. His calm wasn't strength. It was fear dressed in patience. After that night, she pulled further away, until she was gone for good. That man rebuilt himself from the ground up. He learned the difference between being peaceful and being passive. He learned that staying calm doesn't mean staying silent when your dignity's on the line. So here's your tactical truth. When a woman disrespects you, withdraws affection, flirts to provoke, mocks your values, and you say nothing, you're not being calm. You're training her to see you as an emotional sponge, absorbing everything, standing for nothing. Next time she pulls away emotionally, don't chase, don't double text, don't ask what's wrong. Match her silence, but not to punish her, to test her. If she comes back with honesty, curiosity, connection, good. If she plays colder, let her go. Quietly, without drama. That's calm power. And when she says something cruel, don't argue. Just look at her. Say, I don't speak to people who treat me like that. Then exit the conversation. Not to make her feel guilty, but to protect your space. Calm is not what you do. It's what you refuse to entertain. And when you finally learn to walk away from disrespect, you don't need to raise your voice. Your absence becomes the loudest thing in the room. Have you ever been too calm and realized it made her lose interest? What happened? What's one moment where you stayed silent and later wished you didn't? Which part of this hit you the hardest? Tell me below. You've probably heard this phrase before. She just wants a man who stays calm under pressure. Sounds noble, doesn't it? Like you're the composed rock in her chaotic world. But what she doesn't say out loud is that how you stay calm matters more than the fact that you do. Because a lot of men think calm means swallowing their voice, smiling when they're uncomfortable, nodding when they should walk, waiting when they should stand. And they think this self-control is masculine, but it's not control if it comes from fear. Let me show you how the game really plays out. She's cold with her affection, not angry, not upset, just distant. You ask if everything's okay. She says, "I'm fine." You let it be. 2 more days of silence go by. You check in again. She says, "You're overthinking." Now you start doubting yourself. Maybe she is just busy. Maybe you're being needy, so you don't bring it up again. That's her cue. You've just made her emotional withdrawal effective. You've taught her when she pulls back. You question yourself. You chase. You shrink. From that moment forward, the dynamic has shifted. And it's not because she's evil or manipulative, it's because she's human. We all test people's emotional strength. We all look for balance, even unconsciously. And when she senses you're more invested in keeping her than keeping your center, her respect fractures. That fracture grows every time you stay silent when she crosses a line. Like when she jokes about other men's attention in front of you. Or when she interrupts you and dismisses your opinion mid-sentence. Or when she compares you to her ex, "He used to do this better," and you laugh, because you don't want to seem insecure. You think if I show that this bothers me, she'll think I'm weak. No, that's where you lose her. Because the man who calmly and without emotion says, "That's not a joke to me," doesn't lose her respect. The man who calmly gets up and says, "I don't stick around when I'm being played with," without raising his voice. That man becomes unforgettable. Here's the strategy most men miss. Calm doesn't mean being numb. It means being selective. Selective with your time. Selective with your energy. Selective with what you give your attention to. You want to stay calm without being disrespected. Learn to pause, not to submit, but to observe. When she tests your boundaries, don't respond immediately. Watch. What is she really doing? Is it playfulness? Is it anxiety? Is it control? Your ability to stay still long enough to read it without falling into the trap is the beginning of masculine presence. But here's the trap. You think being calm means not walking away. You think it means always giving her the benefit of the doubt. That's not calm. That's emotional starvation dressed as loyalty. You must allow her to feel your absence just as much as your presence. Let me tell you about a guy named Aaron. Aaron was the guy every woman called such a good man. He was thoughtful, emotionally intelligent, never reactive, but he got walked over every single time. Why? Because his calm was always for her benefit, never for his own integrity. One night, his girlfriend told him, "Sometimes I wish you were a little more like my ex." He had that edge. Aaron stayed calm, nodded, said, "I get it," but inside, he broke. What he didn't understand was that moment was her test, not of whether he'd explode, but whether he'd respect himself enough to say no. Had Aaron simply stood, looked her in the eye, and said, "That's not something I tolerate," and left, not forever, just for that night, he would have earned back 10 times the respect he lost. Not because of the power move, but because his calm would have come from clarity, not from a need to be liked. This is the turning point when your calm serves you first. The moment you realize if you're calm but still being disrespected, you're not calm. you're frozen. There's a difference. Calm is active. Calm is sharp. Calm notices the red flags and steps back before they become red traps. Here's how you make that shift. When you notice a woman pulling away emotionally, don't reach. Sit still. If she's silent, let the silence grow. If she mocks you, respond once with honesty, not emotion. If she continues, remove your attention. When she texts you after ignoring you, take your time. Respond slowly, without attitude, just presence. Let her feel that you're not angry, you're just no longer available at the same emotional discount. That's calm. That's masculine. That's how you get respect without demanding it. Have you ever kept giving attention to someone who was clearly withdrawing just to keep them close? Have you mistaken emotional silence for strength when deep down it was fear? What's the one moment you regret not walking away from? There's a moment, a brutal, invisible moment when a man realizes that the more he does, the less she feels. You cooked for her, you texted good morning, you sent flowers, you listened to every venting session, you showed up again and again. And then she stopped responding with warmth. She took longer to reply. She started saying things like, "I need space," or "I'm not sure how I feel right now." That moment feels like betrayal, but it's not betrayal, it's exposure. You see, when a man confuses calm with over-accommodation, he slowly dissolves himself. He becomes agreeable, predictable, emotionally convenient. And women don't fall in love with convenience, they fall in love with polarity. There's no tension in a man who never says no. There's no power in a man who never withholds. There's no respect for a man who never pushes back. And most men, especially those who want to do the right thing, end up giving everything too early, too eagerly, without standards. Then they wonder why they're taken for granted. Let me give you a scene that's far too common. She's in a mood, distant, irritated, maybe passive-aggressive. You ask her what's wrong. She says nothing. You try again. You sure? Still nothing. Now you're stuck. You want to fix it. You want her back to the affectionate version she was last week. So you offer something. You cook dinner. You say, "Maybe we can go out this weekend." You just lost ground. Not because you were kind, but because you gave more without clarity. That wasn't calm, it was compensation. You were paying for emotional harmony by sacrificing your own frame. And now she knows something dangerous, your peace is for sale. So what's the tactic? When a woman shifts emotionally, do not panic. Don't chase her mood. Don't overcompensate. Don't try to manage her feelings. Instead, observe her energy like a seasoned general. Still, detached, assessing. Because here's the truth, her emotional wave is not your command. Her silence is not your responsibility. Her pullback is not a demand for more effort. It's a moment to hold your position, and this is where most men crumble, because silence feels like rejection, and rejection touches a wound you never healed, maybe from childhood, maybe from a past heartbreak, but it's there. That wound whispers, "You're losing her. Fix it now." So you text more, you check in, you offer things, and she pulls further away, because no woman wants to feel like a man's emotional survival depends on her mood. She wants a man who stays rooted, even when she's spinning. She wants a man who doesn't need her to feel okay. Let me tell you what that looks like in real time. Let's say she's cold with her affection for 3 days. You don't chase, you mirror her pace. When she texts you on day 4, hey, you don't punish her. You reply slowly, warmly, but briefly. You don't bring up the coldness. You don't demand an apology. You just let her feel the shift that your energy is not automatic, that you were fine without her. That scares her in a good way. It resets the dynamic. Because now, She knows you're not afraid of her pulling away. She knows you don't need her validation to stay emotionally regulated. That's power, quiet power, the kind she won't mock. And when she tests again, she will maybe by being sarcastic or flirting in front of you, or making a sly comment. Your job is not to fight her on it. It's to reflect it back with calm indifference. Say, not a fan of that tone, and then continue your conversation or change the subject. What you're doing is letting her know, I noticed. I didn't like it, but I'm not giving it energy, because the second you argue, you've already lost your grounding. A woman respects a man who addresses disrespect once, without drama, and then shifts his attention elsewhere. That's the correction. That's the training. Men think training a dog is harder than keeping respect in a relationship, but it's the same principle: consistency, tone, boundaries, and the ability to remove attention the moment behavior crosses the line. The difference with a dog, you don't care if it gets sad when you correct it, but with a woman, you fear her sadness. You fear being the bad guy, so you fold. And every time you fold, you break a piece of yourself, and she feels it. So hear this. You are allowed to correct. You are allowed to pull back. You are allowed to not smile when something hurts. You are allowed to stop texting first. You are allowed to demand dignity not by yelling, but by withdrawing your investment. Have you ever given too much just to feel her energy return, only to feel emptier after what's one situation where you realize now you should have held back? When's the last time you folded and felt her pull away even more? Somewhere along the line, you were taught that being a good man meant being unshakable, emotionally available, always there. That love meant effort, and the more you gave, the more secure the relationship would be. But no one told you the dark side of that script. No one warned you what happens when you give love that isn't earned. When you stay too long in a conversation that belittles you. When you open up to someone who only listens to gain control. When your calm becomes her playground and your silence her green light. Let's stop pretending. Not all women play fair. Some women don't want peace, they want control. And when you stay calm without boundaries, you're not signaling strength. You're giving her the keys to your emotional palace, hoping she won't burn it down. But if she has no respect for walls, no appreciation for your stability, then your calm becomes a blank canvas she paints over with chaos. Here's how that looks. She starts dismissing your plans. You suggest a time. She says, maybe. You suggest another. She says, we'll see. Eventually, you stop planning. She begins flirting with ambiguity, leaves hearts under other men's photos, talks about how so many guys are in her DMs. You raise a brow, she accuses you of insecurity. You stay calm, you let it slide, because you don't want to seem controlling. You don't want to be that guy. And each time you choose calm, you shrink. Not because calm is wrong, but because you've confused submission with peace. Let's clarify something once and for all. Calm is power when it's grounded in standards. It is weakness when it's the mask you wear to avoid discomfort. If your calm isn't making her earn your attention, it's not masculine, it's fearful. There was a guy I once knew. Leo. Quiet strength. Dependable. Never the jealous type. He thought that was enough. He thought his non-reactiveness would show her he was secure. His girlfriend, she was a storm. One day hot, the next day gone. She'd post thirst traps while ignoring his texts, show up late without apology, joke about other men's attention, all while saying, I love how calm you are. But what she meant was, I love how much I can get away with. Until one day, she crossed the line, publicly flirted with another man right in front of Leo, at a party with friends. He just smiled. That was the night she stopped being attracted to him. Why? Because she didn't want a man who tolerated everything. She wanted a man who could make her feel safe, and you cannot feel safe with a man who refuses to confront disrespect. Leo called it maturity, but what it really was fear. Fear of loss, fear of rocking the boat, fear of being alone. So what's the strategy? You must connect your calm to clarity, and clarity means this is what I will not allow. You need to create consequences, not punishments. Not tantrums, but consequences. Here's what that looks like. She speaks down to you in front of others. You say, in the moment, not 3 hours later. That's not how I let people talk to me. And then you turn your attention away. You don't fight. You shift the energy. She ghosts you for days. Comes back with a casual, hey. You wait a few hours. Respond simply. But you don't offer plans. You don't act like nothing happened. You keep moving, as if your life didn't pause while she disappeared because it didn't. She gets passive-aggressive when she doesn't get her way. You don't explain yourself. You don't defend. You say, when you're ready to talk like an adult, I'm open. Then you leave the room, or end the call. You don't fight for control. You don't beg for harmony. You simply stop entertaining chaos. That's calm. Not the kind of calm that keeps the peace on the surface while you're burning inside. Not the kind that sacrifices your voice so she won't leave. Not the kind that forgives things you haven't even processed. But the kind that draws a line and doesn't need to scream to hold it. You must become the man who isn't afraid of distance. You must be the one who doesn't chase after disrespect. You must embody this truth. Peace isn't what you feel around her. It's what you refuse to lose in order to keep her. Have you ever let things slide for too long and ended up losing her respect completely? Have you ever thought being understanding would fix it, but it only made things worse? What's one situation right now where you know your silence is costing you? At some point, you'll be sitting alone, maybe in your car, maybe in your room, maybe on a bench outside her apartment wondering how the hell you got here. You'll replay everything, all the times you swallowed your frustration, all the little moments you told yourself, it's not worth it to speak up, all the chances you gave, the texts you sent, the energy you poured in, the affection you kept offering, long after she stopped deserving it. And it'll hit you. It wasn't that she broke you. It was that you refused to protect yourself. You thought calmness would earn her love. But love built on silence isn't love, it's leverage. You let her emotions dictate your decisions. You let her moods rewrite your needs. You let her words redefine your worth. And you call that being the bigger man. No, being the bigger man means protecting peace with strength, not surrendering identity to maintain connection. You were never supposed to be her emotional sponge. You were never meant to absorb every wave of her chaos while pretending you're okay. You were meant to stand, not loudly, not aggressively, just firmly. She pulls away. You don't chase, you mirror. She mocks your ambition. You don't justify, you redirect. She violates a boundary. You don't explain, you enforce. Not because you're playing games, but because you're done playing yourself. There's a difference between emotional availability and emotional servitude. There's a difference between understanding and tolerating disrespect. There's a difference between being calm and being conquered. And that difference starts with one brutal truth. You don't need her to choose you. You need to choose yourself. Let me show you what that looks like in action. You're on a date. She checks her phone constantly. You pause. You say, I'll let you finish up. We can continue when you're here. Not with attitude, not to shame her, but to make your presence something that requires hers in return. She complains you're too quiet, tries to provoke you with comparisons. You smile calmly and say, if you're not happy here, you're free to go. Not as a threat, as an invitation. She starts to get hot and cold again. One day, all over you. The next, cold silence. You don't overthink. You don't beg for warmth. You stay consistent. And if her inconsistency grows, you leave. Quietly. No tantrum, no closure, no final message explaining your worth. You disappear because a man with self-respect doesn't stay where he's slowly dying. This is not about punishing women. This is about reclaiming your frame. She wants calm. Give her calm with consequences. She wants stability. Show her stability that doesn't bend for disrespect. She wants connection. Offer it only where there's mutual effort. Because here's what happens when you do this. When you become the man who walks away without a word, without a breakdown, without needing to prove your worth. She feels it. She remembers it. She replays it. Not because she lost a man who gave her everything, but because she lost a man who gave himself to himself first. That's the kind of man she tells her friends about years later. That's the kind of man she secretly hopes to meet again. That's the kind of man who doesn't need to be chosen, because he chooses himself every day. And that man who doesn't live for her reaction, he lives for his own reflection. He doesn't argue with disrespect. He doesn't plead for connection. He doesn't negotiate his standards. He simply doesn't stay where he's not respected. So ask yourself, how much have you paid in silence for love that never valued you? How many times have you betrayed your own needs just to keep the peace? How long will you keep calling your fear of loss emotional maturity? Because real maturity is knowing when to speak up and when to walk away. Real calm is not the absence of conflict, it's the presence of self. And if you ever forget who you are, just remember this. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.